Coming up, how to prevent another school shooting. We get some of your ideas. And should Nebraska senators get a raise? The news starts now.
Live from Lincoln, this is Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 10.
A live look outside from Tower Cam 8. It's calm now, but expect some wintry weather soon. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us.
We're in for some more snow and freezing rain.
Of course, the question is always when and how much. Let's kick things off tonight with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. Dean?
Does it seem like it's been a long winter?
Yes.
You know, we haven't had a whole lot of snow. We've had more than last year, that's for sure. And it's been a longer winter. We already were into spring by this time last year, so maybe that's why. Another winter weather advisory is in effect as we head into the overnight hours, and that will last through midnight tomorrow. It will end a little earlier to our south at 6 p.m. Areas down from Beatrice over towards Falls City. Snow already occurring on radar, however, it's not reaching the ground. We've got to moisten up this atmosphere a little bit first before we get that snow to reach the ground. Temperatures from our viewer network today were generally in the 20s across the board, a little warmer, but only by a few degrees down into northern Kansas. And we've been to 25 for the last 3 or 4 hours, and we're really not going to drop a whole lot from where we're at right now due to the cloud cover. Northeast wind around 5 to 10, giving us wind chill readings in the teens most areas, 13 in Norfolk, 11 in Columbus, a little colder off into areas around the Sandhills. Weather trivia for tonight. Since we're, kind of locked in a winter weather pattern here, let's talk about some record heat. The highest temperature ever recorded in the United States occurred in which state? Is it Arizona, Florida, California, or New Mexico? We'll have that answer for you at the end of the 10-day forecast. So we not only have freezing rain and snow in the forecast for, it's going to come in a couple waves, snow tonight, and then we'll mix in that freezing rain tomorrow. So kind of tricky travel for the morning rush, and then tricky travel again for the evening rush as that freezing rain kicks in. So kind of a messy looking forecast. Keep that in mind if you have any travel plans tomorrow. And then an even larger storm heading our way as we head into Saturday. So we are stuck in a winter rut. We'll give you the details, how much snow we're expecting, how much ice we're expecting, all of that coming up in just a bit.
All right, talk to you later, Dean.
All right.
Today, President Trump met with students and families devastated by school shootings.
They pleaded with him for action. ABC's Tara Palmieri has the details.
President Trump sat silently, listening to families and survivors of school shootings. They shared their grief and begged for action. Justin Gruber recalled hiding in a closet while his classmates were gunned down at his high school in Parkland last week.
There needs to be significant change in this country because this has to never happen again. And people should be able to feel that when they go to school, they can be safe.
All these school shootings, it doesn't make sense. Fix it. It should have been one school shooting, and we should have fixed it. And I'm pissed, because my daughter I'm not going to see again. She's not here.
President Trump vowed to take more action than his predecessors.
It's not going to be talked like it has been in the past.
Arming teachers was one idea that seemed to resonate with President Trump. He recalled how assistant coach Aaron Feist died last week using his body as a human shield to protect the students.
If the coach had a firearm in his locker when he ran at this guy, that coach was very brave. Saved a lot of lives, I suspect. But if he had a firearm, he wouldn't have had a run. He would have shot, and that would have been the end of it.
But it was less popular with the students.
Does anybody like that idea here? Does anybody like it? Right? Yes? For Meadow, your beautiful Meadow. We talked about that. And do people feel strongly against it? Anybody? Anybody? Strongly against it?
The NRA put out a statement opposing the president's proposal to raise the age for purchase of long guns. Tara Palmieri, ABC News, Washington.
And the Florida school shooting has revived debate about the cause of such events.
Channel 8 Eyewitness News reporter Joe Harris has some local reaction for us tonight. Joe?
Thank you, Rod and Megan. How do we tackle school massacres? Are more rigid gun laws the answer, or is it about mental health? We talked to several people to get their opinions. Following last week's Parkland, Florida school shooting, ABC News conducted a poll asking people what they thought could or could not have prevented the event. 77% said better mental health treatment and monitoring could have stopped it. Dr. David Myers of Bryan Health says mental illness combined with feelings of isolation can lead to violence.
Maybe that mental illness maybe contributed to that. but it's that lack of connectedness in itself that creates more violence towards others and towards yourselves.
I think a big part of it is bullying. I've heard a lot of these shooters have been bullied.
58% of respondents to the ABC poll said stricter gun laws would have prevented it. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos said training teachers to carry guns was an option to prevent school shootings. And 42% of ABC respondents said arming teachers could have prevented it. We talked to some people who agree.
With the right protection, if they have a concealed carry permit with a concealed weapon, I believe they can protect themselves and their students and prevent massacre shootings like what just happened.
But not everyone we talked to said that's a good idea.
To ask us to add the added layer of responsibility of potentially having to shoot somebody or to take a life is more than we signed up for, and that's more than I feel should be asked of any teacher.
Now, we asked you about what you think about arming school teachers. So far, the results are dead even, with 50% of respondents saying teachers should be armed in the classrooms. And you can still vote on klkntv.com.
Yep, the debate continues. All right, Joe Harris from the newsroom, thank you.
And on a related note, the Platt-Smith community is on edge after 2 teens planned an attack on the high school.
I mean, it could happen anywhere. I mean, we just got to be safe about that kind of stuff.
Officials got word 2 boys ages 15 and 16 were planning it. Officials, though, were able to prevent the attack and retrieve the weapon the boys planned to use. Some, though, are not happy because the teens were released to the custody of their parents.
Normally I do, yeah. I mean, I'll second guess it now, obviously. I want to make sure that the school is safe before I send either one of my boys to school.
Officials then received a second threat against the school and canceled classes. That second threat was later deemed not credible.
To Millard South now in the Omaha area, a 17-year-old was arrested. The teen made 2 terroristic threats online. Well, it ended up being towards 2 students. Officials say it did not involve the school.
Last night, we told you about a scare at Lincoln Southwest. A 15-year-old brought a BB gun to school. Well, today, police released these pictures to show you just how real the handgun looks. The student also had several hydrocodone pills and was taken into custody.
Some Lincoln students are sending letters to the victims of the Florida shooting.
Dear students of Stoneman Douglas High School, I am a junior at Lincoln North Star High School.
Probably not much different from whoever's reading this. I have a job, love hanging out with friends and family, and when I heard the news of what happened, my heart immediately dropped.
It made me think about how horrible it is that 17 of your fellow classmates had to go in the way that they did.
Those 3 students, along with their class, spent the morning writing these letters, telling the survivors of the shooting in Florida they are not alone and that these students are with them in the fight to keep this from happening again.
I began asking myself, why does this keep happening and what needs to be done to prevent such tragedies from happening? You don't need to worry, though. Me and millions of other students across the nation, if not the world, are behind you.
Now, the letters will be sent to the Parkland High School for students to read when they return to class next week.
Nebraska lawmakers are looking to increase their wages.
We can get more people to run for office and be senators that normally come from, I think, more reasonable walks of life.
Currently, senators are paid $12,000, which is towards the bottom of salaries for state senators in the Midwest and the rest of the country. They want to increase it to $28,000. Even with the budget deficit problems that the state is facing, Governor Ricketts says he's still for it.
Again, like I said, I think our senators are underpaid with regard to the amount of effort that they put into this. Anything that we do, we'll have to maybe make sure that we fit into our budget.
How the senators decided on the $28,000 is it's 50% of the median household income in Nebraska.
A bill on health care was heard in committee hearings today. It's from Lincoln Senator Adam Morfeld. It would require the state to provide health insurance for adults 65 and younger. And his bill, if it ever gets to the floor and voted on and passed, it would also be on the November ballot. Well, here's a question for you. Do you ever wish you could just unplug for a while? Who doesn't, right?
Right, with no distractions. Well, a unique local business is here to help. Channel 8 Eyewitness News reporter Nicole Cousins checked it out today and has more.
I'm here at Lost and Float. It's in Northeast Lincoln. It's a unique sensory deprivation experience. I'm going to try to ease my mind, and I'll report back to you guys.
Silence. With busy lives, it's a sound we aren't used to. Through sensory deprivation, Levi Wirtz is changing that.
When you tell somebody what floating is, they just kind of give you these weird, doughy eyes, like, what are you talking about?
Levi and his wife opened Lost and Float on 84th and Layton last June by floating in water concentrated with heaps of Epsom salt in these escape pods, which, by the way, are locally built. The aim is to shut out the stresses of everyday life.
We have kids, we have work, we have jobs, we have cell phones, we have traffic, we have stress, and just to shut that off in and of itself sounds, amazing. It sounds inviting.
So inviting, I had to try it out. Shutting yourself inside a spaceship-like container may not sound the most relaxing, but after about 20 minutes, I got the hang of it. Then you turn off the light and see where your mind takes you. For me, it felt like floating in the Dead Sea, except instead of being in open water, I was drifting on 11 inches inside a 5 by 8 foot box. Levi calls it a conduit into your consciousness, a way to reset and recharge.
There is a level of understanding anymore just how important it is to just be with yourself.
After the float, there's plenty of creative outlets to rejuvenate your brain. Music and the chalk wall seem to be two favorites. Showing a little silence can speak volumes for your state of mind.
Well, after an hour, I do feel relaxed and rejuvenated, but this is something you'll just have to try for yourself to see if it works for you. Reporting in Northeast Lincoln, Nicole Cousins, Channel 8 Eyewitness News.
I could use a good float.
I'd give it a try.
Still to come on the news tonight, a special class here in Lincoln is helping those who suffer from Parkinson's disease gain strength.
But first, the weather. Yeah, it could get nasty tomorrow. Dean has the very latest for you right after the break.
Oh, boy, another day of below normal. We should be used to it by now, and just, patience, patience, patience. It's not last year where we were 76 and we had a nice early spring. And we're going to be waiting for spring this year, but by mid-March, I know it's about 2 to 3 weeks away, but we'll get there. We've got a little bit of winter to go through yet. 27 and 4 today was our high and low downtown right now. Beautiful shot of downtown, still cloudy, 25 degrees, northeast wind at 9. Dew point's at 15, so our humidity is 66%. Got to get this dew point up about a couple more degrees. And then we'll start to see that moisture, that atmosphere moisten up a bit and allow that snow to reach the ground. It's snowing aloft, it's just not reaching the ground. Temperatures around the area, 19 Central City, 22 Columbus, again mid-20s here in the capital city, 22 in Seward and 26 in Beatrice, with the breeze blowing out of the northeast on the light side, generally 5 to 10 miles an hour. Everybody cold, obviously below normal for this time of the year. 20 in Norfolk, 22 Columbus, a little colder in O'Neill, much colder in Thedford at 7 above, and even colder weather off into the Dakotas, but we're not worried about the Dakotas. We're worried about what's coming in from the south. Cold weather to the south. A little upper level disturbance is going to be riding in from the Texas-Oklahoma panhandle, already bringing some snow, at least aloft, again, not reaching the ground in our area. But the darker blues you see down here in Kansas, that's indicating some heavier returns on radar, and that, as that crosses the border here, closer to midnight, will allow that snow to start to develop. And this continues to go further south, all the way down into the Texas-Oklahoma panhandle. It doesn't look very organized. It's an upper level disturbance. This is not going to be a huge storm by any means. But again, the main concern is going to be that freezing rain that develops tomorrow with the light snow. It doesn't take a lot of freezing rain to really make things kind of just treacherous and difficult to travel. This is storm number 1. Storm number 2, again, this doesn't look that impressive, but it will be. It's going to dive into the Four Corners here as we head into Friday and start to intensify, and that is going to be a much bigger storm as we head into the upcoming weekend. Track is going to be very crucial on that one. So for tonight, Stormcast painting the clouds over our area. The mixed precip down to the south. This starts to develop towards our area as we head after midnight. Morning rush, we'll see scattered snow showers in the area, so not going to see a problem with freezing rain towards the morning rush. It's going to be all snow. Then as we head into the afternoon, we're going to see warmer air aloft start to develop. So you get warm air aloft, and when that precip falls through that warmer air, it melts, and temperatures below freezing here at the surface, it falls as rain, and then it freezes on contact. And that's what we're going to see develop as we head into the middle of the afternoon. You can see that starting to develop here about 4:30. And we'll continue to see waves of it continue to come in from the south. We'll be in some light snow and light freezing rain by around 9 o'clock, so it's going to last a while, and then that pulls out. Again, not a heavy snow event, not a heavy icing event, but again, it doesn't take a lot of ice to make things pretty slippery out there. Snowfall potential, and again, this is one of our models, but most of our models pretty close to the same, about a ½ inch to an inch by Thursday afternoon. Then we'll get that second round coming in, get about another ½ inch. So about an inch to about 2 inches of snow area wide. And then ice-wise, again, freezing rain, we're looking at about a 1/10 of an inch, pretty close to it. That's enough to cause travel problems. So again, we'll keep a very close eye on that as well. Needless to say, a slippery day on tap for tomorrow. Not as cold, light snow develops tonight down to 20. And then tomorrow, we'll see a break in the action, then more light snow and freezing rain developing by afternoon. High of only 30, so we'll be below freezing all day. And then we'll get a break on Friday, and then that larger storm comes in on Saturday. And some areas of the state are going to get some heavy snow out of this. The most likely areas are going to be just northwest of Lincoln. That's been the case all winter. We're right on that kind of fence between heavier snow and, you know, maybe an inch or two. So we'll keep a very close eye on that. Then we'll warm things up a little bit as we head into early next week before another storm system brings us some rain and snow as we head into Wednesday, Thursday. Our 10-day outlook brings us to March 3rd. And then we've got a couple more storms beyond our 10-day outlook. So we're locked in this pattern, whether you like it or not. Weather trivia, we've got to get this. I'm getting rap in my ear, but let's get our weather trivia real quick. Highest temperature ever recorded in the U.S. Which state? Arizona, Florida, California, or New Mexico?
I'm going with the desert in California.
I'm going to New Mexico.
It is California, Death Valley, 134 back in 1913.
Rod, every time he's right.
I gave him the answer.
I knew it. I knew it. Thanks, Steve.
You bet.
Still to come on the news tonight, Nebraska FFA members gathered at the state capitol for a big celebration.
Well, the details in tonight's Excellence in Education. We'll be right back. Went to a special dance class today.
It's offering hope to people with Parkinson's disease.
Everything that professional dancers train to do seem to address specific things that people with Parkinson's disease deal with.
The class uses methods of dance to help patients strengthen their balance, coordination, rhythm, and flexibility. Those who regularly attend have noticed an improvement in their symptoms, but they've also built a community.
Just being here and doing the movements and visiting with friends who suffer from the same disease.
The class is offered at the Nebraska Ballet Theater and School on Wednesdays. Caregivers and spouses can attend the class for free. Well, it's National Future Farmers of America Week.
And today, FFA members gathered at the Capitol. It's tonight's Excellence in Education report, sponsored by Liberty First Credit Union.
On behalf of the Nebraska FFA Association, I would like to thank you, Governor Ricketts, for helping us celebrate National FFA Week.
Today, Governor Ricketts did sign a proclamation declaring this week FFA Week in Nebraska. Now, FFA teaches leadership, training, also teamwork and career skills.
Over half the people that are involved in FFA are actually not off of the farm. That FFA has expanded to make sure they're including ag business leaders and people who want to be doctors and so forth and all sorts of other careers.
And Governor Ricketts says it's not just about agriculture, but also our small rural communities, too. Next in sports, Janae Morton has been a nice spark plug off the bench for the Nebraska women.
Plus, Tim Miles pleads his case for the Huskers to make the NCAA tournament. We'll be right back after the break.
The Nebraska men are 21-9 overall and 12-5 in Big Ten play. They're currently in 4th place in the Big Ten standings, yet they're not a lock to make the NCAA tournament.
I don't know, but if I was on the committee, you know, I'd want to see us finish this thing off, you know, and I'd want to see us certainly play well in the Big Ten tournament. How many games that means we have to win, I don't know. But I do know our one weakness right now is quadrant 1 wins. Our only one is Michigan. Now, Minnesota could be considered a quad 1 win, which would give us 2. Penn State won't be one. There'll be a quad 2 or 3 even. Tonight was quad 3, I think. You know, even though they're a top 100 team. There's top 100 wins in you know, what used to be top 50, top 100 wins. Those are now in Q3, you know. So I know that we've won on the road. We've done a lot of good things. We've done some very good things in our conference, which is one of the top 5 conferences in the country. So, but I don't know what everybody else's resume is either. So, we just have to do what we can do, control what we control, play a great game on Sunday.
Amy Williams was named one of 10 semifinalists for the Naismith National Women's Coach of the Year today. Williams is the only Big Ten coach on the list. Janae Morton has been on fire lately. The senior guard is averaging 18 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and nearly 2 steals per game over the last 6 games. Morton transferred in from Eastern Michigan and had to sit out last year. She dealt with an ankle injury early in the season.
Honestly, I think it's just been all the hard work I've been putting in prior to that. It's just building up, and it's finally able to show on the court. Ever since my injury, I just told myself, regardless of how many minutes you're going to get, in the beginning, regardless of how hard, it's going to be to get in the flow, you got to stay ready.
Well, we absolutely feel like, she's had a stellar college basketball career where she's just a very capable scorer, and to have to jump in midstream while we already have kind of a rotation going and find a way to bring something to the table and find your niche, it's a very difficult thing to break into. And she's found a way.
The Huskers host Penn State tomorrow night at 7. GPAC women's basketball tournament quarterfinals tonight. Concordia hosting Briar Cliff. First quarter, Philly Lammers catches it in the post, spins and uses the glass to bank home the 2-pointer. Lammers had a game-high 23 points and 14 rebounds. Second quarter, Quinn Rogge puts home 2 of her 12 points. She also had 7 rebounds. Concordia in front, 29-16. Then Colby Duvel takes it in for the layup. She had 15 points. Bulldogs go on to win 80-64. Doane men upset 9th-ranked Briar Cliff in the quarterfinals, 85-84. Beatrice grad Riley Zimmerman led the Tigers with 25 points. He also scored his 1,000th career point. The Concordia men lost at Northwestern, 107-87. Nebraska assistant volleyball coach Tyler Hildebrand is leaving to become the director of beach coaching for USA Volleyball. Doane's Ed Fye was named the GPAC men's and women's indoor track and field coach of the year, and Zach Linton from Doane was named the GPAC wrestler of the year. The Nebraska baseball team will take its 3-1 record back to Arizona this weekend to face Utah twice and Oregon State twice. The Beavers went 56-6 last year and beat the Huskers twice. Oregon State made the CWS in 2017 and will be a difficult challenge for the Huskers this weekend.
If we're letting our opponent affect how we're going to approach a game, we got big issues. So I couldn't care less who we're playing. We're going to go out and play our game. Yeah, are they good? Of course they're good. So is Utah. So, I mean, you start letting those external things dictate how you're going to get up for a game. That's just not how you get ready to play. So so you're going to have to play well, sure. But I'm more concerned about how we go about our business.
Like any other weekend, go out there and compete against them. They're a great team. As of last year, they're definitely great too. This year they looked like they were pretty good too. So it's just go out there and competing and give your best effort.
Huskers will play 1 game each day, Thursday through Sunday.
All right, thank you, Brad. Final check of the forecast next.
Time now for our Facebook fans of the day. Marcy shared this picture of her 2 grandsons, Eli and Isaiah. They're sharing some brotherly love for an awful cute picture. Thank you, Marcy, for sending it in to us. Dean?
And we've got a couple waves of precip coming in over the next 24 hours. We'll see about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of snow by drive time tomorrow. And then we'll see freezing rain and snow mixed in during the day, probably about another 1/2 inch to 1 inch of snow, about 1 inch to 2 inches of snow, about 1/10 of an inch of ice, and then another storm system that might be a little more potent as we head into Saturday.
All right, thank you, Dean, and thank you for joining us.
Stick around. Jimmy Kimmel Live is up next. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.